You ever have that feeling? You know the one. You're scrolling late at night and this sinking feeling hits you that the world is, well, it's kind of broken. That the whole game is rigged and all the chaos we see isn't an accident. That there's a they somewhere pulling all the strings. Well, today we're going to ask a much harder question. What if looking for a who is the real trap? Yeah, it's a feeling we all share. Things don't just feel like they're breaking down, it feels like they're being broken on purpose. So in this explainer, we're going to step back from the corkboard and all the red yarn for a minute and ask, what is really going on here? So to figure this out, we're going to go on a little four-part journey. First up, we'll dive into what's called the villain addiction, something that's basically hardwired into our brains. Then we're going to see how that addiction fuels the viral story online. After that, we'll pull back the curtain on the unseen machine. And you might be surprised to find out that the real source of power is actually kind of boring. And we'll wrap it all up with a final reflection on what this all means for you and me. All right, first things first, we have to look inward. Before we can even begin to understand the world out there, we've got to understand the weird cognitive cocktail inside our own heads that makes us crave a villain in the first place. Okay, check this out, because this is a fascinating psychological trade-off. We think we're afraid of some secret cabal plotting in the shadows, right? But look at the alternative, random, meaningless chaos. Honestly, that is so much more terrifying. A villain, as scary as they might be, gives us a story that makes sense. It gives us a target. It even offers the possibility of a solution. It's a scary story, sure, but it's a weirdly comforting one. And this right here, this is the mother of all biases. It's not just a slight preference, it's an active filter on your reality. Once you start believing in a plot, everything becomes proof. The stock market dips, proof. A weird news story, proof. Your brain literally starts filtering out thousands of other possibilities. You're not just seeing red, you've become blind to any other color. And think about when we're most vulnerable to this stuff. It's when we feel a sudden loss of control, maybe after losing a job, or during a health scare, or when politics gets really chaotic. Believing you know what's really going on feels like a superpower. It's a way to get some of that control back, to put order to the chaos, and to feel like you belong to a group that gets it. So our brains provide the spark. They're like little tinder boxes just waiting. But for that spark to turn into a full-blown wildfire, it needs fuel. And that's where the viral story comes in. This is how simple plots completely outrun complex reality. And when you look at the data, it's not even a contest. Study after study shows that misinformation, conspiracy content, it all spreads wider, deeper, and way, way faster online than the actual facts. Every single time. It's because it hijacks our brain's fear and threat detection systems. Sharing it feels like we're warning our tribe. It's the digital version of shouting, "Lion," in the tall grass. And here's the real kicker. Here's why they spread so fast. Conspiracies are built like Hollywood blockbusters. They have clear heroes, obvious villains, plot twists, the whole shebang. Reality, on the other hand, it's usually just a gradual trend line on a really boring graph. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's anticlimactic. And when you give the human brain a choice between a boring graph and a great story, well, the story wins almost every time. This quote from the philosopher Guy Debord just nails our modern problem. We spend more time engaging with the representation of the world, the memes, the news clips, the spectacle of it all, than with actual messy reality. We get stuck in our own little echo chambers, watching the same movie over and over, and that makes it pretty much impossible to see the world as it really is. Okay, this is the pivot. This is where we take a hard left turn. So we've seen how our minds are primed for simple stories, and we've seen how our media environment supercharges them. But what if the whole hunt for a villain is just a distraction, a shadow on the cave wall keeping us from seeing the actual machinery of power? Let's go look at the real source of control. This is it. This is the core question of this entire explainer. If it's not some shadowy group in a smoke-filled room, then what the heck is it? The reason it feels like we're being managed is because, well, we are. But it's not a plot. It's just the baseline condition of civilization. Now, this concept is a bit of a mind-bender, but it is so important. We assume malicious intent came first, that someone wanted to control us. But the reality is often the exact opposite. We built huge, complex systems, governments, economies, to stop us from killing each other over resources. The feeling of being controlled that we have now, That's the unintended side effect of trying to organize 8 billion people on one small planet. The philosopher Hannah Arendt noticed something profound. The greatest harms in the world often don't come from monstrous evil, but from simple thoughtlessness. It's the bureaucrat who's just stamping a form, just doing their job. It's the manager just trying to optimize for quarterly returns. When you take that small, thoughtless action and you scale it up across millions of people in a system, you can get catastrophic results, all without a single mustache-twirling villain anywhere in sight. And this isn't some fringe theory. It's a sociological principle that's as fundamental as gravity. You simply can't have a committee of 1,000 people decide where to order lunch, right? For the sake of pure efficiency, a small group always ends up taking charge. And over time, that group naturally consolidates its power. It's not a conspiracy. It's just a predictable, inevitable outcome of getting organized. And this quote from Immanuel Kant just sums it all up perfectly. We can't build perfect, equitable systems for a very simple reason. We aren't perfect, equitable building blocks. We as people are flawed. We're the crooked timber. And when you try to build a skyscraper out of crooked timber, well, it's gonna lean. So if we're trapped in this massive machine made of our own crooked parts, does that mean we're doomed? Is there any way out? The answer is yes, but it requires a complete and total shift in our perspective, moving away from a place of blame and toward one of responsibility. At the very root of this whole problem is this deep, unexamined belief that we are somehow separate from the systems we critique. We look at the government or the economy or the environment as these things out there that are happening to us. Now, this is a tough pill to swallow, I know. It's so much easier to be the righteous victim pointing a finger. But the hard truth is, we are the ones who feed the machine. We are the cogs. We consume the stuff, we click the links, and participate in the spectacle. We enforce the rules on each other. We are the crooked timber. And realizing that, truly realizing it, is the very first step toward getting our power back. So, this is the ultimate choice we have. We can keep going the old way, spending all our energy fighting ghosts and blaming some imaginary they, or we can choose a new path. We can start the hard, unglamorous, but absolutely essential work of fixing the foundation we're all standing on. It's the difference between being a powerless spectator in a scary movie and being an empowered builder in the real world. Because in the end, the chaos we see out there isn't a plot against us. It's a reflection of us. We built this world, all of us, together, with our crooked timber. And that thought is both terrifying and, you know what, it's also incredibly empowering because it puts the responsibility and therefore the power right back in our hands. So the only question left is, are you ready?